Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the round 11 version of the Weekender. It's footy this year has been very different for both of us compared to last year and years gone by. Actually, for one of us, but last year in particular, we both had pretty fun seasons, and this year it's getting interesting on a personal level. But I mean, if we look at the bigger picture, footy's doing okay, but yeah, it's just leaving us with just constant frustration, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's hard when you do a show like this and you try and be unbiased and appreciate the game as a whole. It is tough when your teams are battling, which ours are at the moment, definitely. But like you said, I do think footy is in a good place. Just sadly, not for you and I.
No. But apart from the footy, what did you get up to on the weekend? I did see you at the footy. Now, a lot of people did see you at the footy, actually. You got on everyone's TVs and you making it a habit as well. You've been on the TV the last few weeks, actually. So there it is, as
And there I
people that are
am. For
watching.
those watching on screen, we'll talk about it later. But this is just proof that I do go to the games where a lot of Richmond supporters have dipped in recent times. We will talk about that. So I'll jump to that in a second. But yes, I did. I did go to the footy on Sunday. That was what I did then. And Saturday, I played my own game of footy for the Elsternwick Footy Club. Had a game in the Arvo, and then Saturday night we had trivia night with the club. It's always a bit of fun. So everyone dresses up. Every table's got a theme. It's good to get around. It's good fun.
Yeah, love it. Very good. You were looking for a shit shirt, I believe.
Yeah. So our table was shit shirt themed, and a few people on the table, most people had one, but there's a few of us that didn't sort of have a shit shirt lined up or ready to go the day of. And someone pointed out that most of your wardrobe would probably fit the bill. So you got a few messages on the day, I heard.
Yes, I did. I initially thought it was a piss take, everyone having a dig at my fashion sense, but they were legit questions. And but it isn't as embarrassing as my mum buying you a shit shirt, so I'm not sure what's worse.
Your mum's a lovely lady, mate. I appreciate it very much. And I'll be giving her back that rubber ducky Hawaiian shirt very, very soon.
I'm glad you finished that sentence off.
Yeah, it could have been very weird if I didn't finish that sentence. But no, we got there. We finished it off. So that's what I got up to. How about yourself? How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was one of the rare weekends where I didn't attend a footy game this year, whether it's leisure or work. So it was, I think it was the first week this year I didn't go to the footy. So it was nice. It was just a bit more relaxing. Played 18 holes of golf yesterday, so that was fun in the rain. It was a bit tough, but I'm actually a little bit sore, to be honest, which is weird for golf, but shows my unconditioned level at the moment. But all in all, it was a good weekend, and tried to keep my mind off Friday night, that's for sure.
Geez, you're starting to show your age, man. If you're pulling up sore from a day of golf out in the out in the green, it was raining. I'll give you that. A few potholes you might have slipped in, so the ankles might be a bit tender. But geez, showing your age. Do you have a handicap? If so, what do we?
No, I don't have a handicap. I'm not as good as you think I am, Quinn. I'm still very much in the learning phase of it all, but it's just a bit of fun, bit of a social thing.
That's right. Well, as you understand, I know absolutely nothing about golf, so I don't understand how handicaps work, and we won't get into it here because it'll bore the life out of everyone. But glad to hear you had a good weekend.
Yes, thank you, mate. No, it was good, but if we may as well just get into it. My weekend started on Friday night watching the Carlton Football Club, and it was billed as pretty much the game that Carlton really couldn't afford. Both teams really couldn't afford to lose, but in particular Carlton, given Sydney's injuries, especially to their key defensive posts, and it was a game that Carlton just had to win, given their form. And and they didn't. They lost by 27 points to the Swans in a pretty tough game to watch from a Carlton point of view. Just same issues popping up week in, week out. Skill levels been atrocious. Delivery inside 50 was terrible, and then our goal kicking was just as bad. So a lot of issues at the club at the moment, and copping at left, right, and centre. And fair enough, because the talent on that list should be performing a lot better.
Now, for those that know me, this will come as no surprise, but I think about 5 minutes into the first quarter, I was carked asleep on the couch. So I actually didn't get to watch any of this game, but tell me if I'm wrong. From what I heard, Carlton held a lot of the dominance like during mid-play, but just couldn't convert or get clean delivery up forward. Was that the case, or have I been misinformed there?
Yep, that was pretty accurate. I think Carlton dominated a lot of the early play, especially. Defensively, we were really good. Pressure was on, but just never looked like ever threatening to win that game. It just, even though it was close for most of it, just never felt like we we're going to win. It was, just no real class or, the entries inside. It was just no real desire to really take the game on and go for it. And then, the damn wall busted and Sydney, kicked away a bit towards the end there. But it was just one of those. Yeah, I mean, not one of those games. It's been one of those games for all season for Carlton. But it was just a story of complete inaccuracy in front of goal and kicking and skills all over the ground. We're just completely unacceptable for AFL standards. So that's been the issue over the last few weeks. So it's incredibly frustrating, and they're turning a lot of supporters offside at the moment. A lot of Carlton supporters are completely fed up with what's happening. We expected so much. We're 8 years into a rebuild, and we're still languishing in the bottom 8.
I know that it's the age-old question, but do you know what the fix is? Is it that simple as one thing, or is it multiple things, or just no idea at this point?
I think it's a mixture. It's a mixture of everything. I don't think you can pinpoint it on just the coach or just the players or just the management. I think it's just a mixture of everything. Obviously, there's some system issues, which comes down to coaching, but then there's also the execution of the system, which comes down to the players. And I think, just a mixture of those things are just not working at the moment. The players have got a lot to blame for, especially the midfield, the way they're using the ball at the moment. And then, our 2 key forwards that everyone's been talking about a lot, especially Harry, really out of form, has the yips and just doesn't look confident. So it's just a lot happening. And, we were saying before off air, when it rains, it pours. Once one thing goes bad, it just feels like everything else just runs with it too. And now there's issues at board level and things like that. So it's just, it's not a great place at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's not an ideal situation for the footy club or the supporters with all the expectation around them. But we'll move on because we could talk about Carlton all day, I'm sure. But we'll flip the coin to a team that's probably exceeding expectations, and the Hawks. For those that suggested they weren't going to be too flush, they've come out with a few games this year and really surprised us, and none more so than this weekend on the Saturday against the Saints.
Yeah, they were great. They were fantastic. And there was people out there that said they weren't going to win a game this year, especially after round 1. I think it was round 1 or round 2. They got absolutely smashed, like almost uncompetitive. And now look at them; they're doing really well. 2 wins in a row. We probably could have, not looked too much into the West Coast win, but to beat the Saints, who are sitting 4th on the ladder, was huge from the Hawks, and they looked really good. Their young players are doing great, and they just look like a team that's really playing with a lot of enthusiasm and energy, which is, in contrast to the team that we were just talking about. So they're doing really well, and clearly the number 1 pick's not in their sights.
Well, no, exactly right. It's always a good thing as well when the rumors about tanking or that start swirling around, and then to see a team come out and do something like this and put on a performance like this. And just for some further information as well, like you said, they started the season pretty poorly. They lost to Essendon in round 1 by 59 points, and the next week they faced the Swans, where they got belted by 81. So to have such a poor start to the year like that for a really young group is enough to crush the confidence of just about any side. So for them to not turn their season around, like there's obviously finals out of the picture, all that sort of stuff, but to be able to still play good and competitive games of football most of the season, and then have games like this as well, with everyone coming out on top and winning, is a real testament to what Sam Mitchell's doing down there with the group.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, Sam Mitchell looks like he's got things going there very nicely, and I think that's just what Hawthorn do, isn't it? They always seem to just rebuild well, or they just know how to do a quick spike. And really develop their players really, really good. So they're good. They're doing good, and they're only a game. I think they're only a 1 win off Carlton, which is quite embarrassing. But they're doing quite well, and good on them.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, they're sitting the same as us. So if you're embarrassed about being only a game in front, we're not even that. So we're both. I understand your pain.
There you go.
Your pain. But again, teams exceeding expectations. It was the weekend of upsets, and we spoke about this before. It's been all over the media. No doubt everybody listening's tipping was probably out the window this week. I know I only got 3 myself. It was an absolute shocking week for footy tipping, but there was plenty of upsets and plenty to talk about. And another one, a little record that's probably flown under the radar a little bit, is the Giants' record at GMHBA Stadium against the Cats. Not many sides can notch up even one win against the Cats down there, let alone I think it's 3 on the trot now, I believe, for the Giants. And they came out and had an absolutely unbelievable performance over the weekend. And was it Toby Green's 200th this week, if I'm not mistaken? I think it was. So for the milestone game, come out, and I think Toby kicked 4 as well. It's an outstanding testament to the way the Giants are traveling right now.
Yeah, they're doing well. Again, they've got a great inexperienced coach, and Adam Kingsley, who's doing really good things. Obviously comes from Richmond, has a really good background there, and yeah, they play really good footy as well. They're good to watch. And you mentioned Toby Green, geez, what a superstar he is. He's going to go down as one of the greats of the game. I just love the way he goes about it. He's such a good player, and I feel like if he played for a Victorian team, he'd be recognised so much higher. But he's so good to watch, and glad they did it for him. And yeah, they've got a great record down in Geelong. And speaking of Geelong, they're looking like they're back in all sorts again. That's three losses in a row, and they never lose in Geelong. So maybe there's some concerns about them now, and it probably looks like they're having a bit of a premiership hangover.
It does a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, we started the year slow, and we all said, don't worry, they'll come back. They went and won 5 games in a row. I'm like, all right, here we are. They are back. But now, yeah, like you said, they've lost a couple in a row. They're starting to lose that confidence. They do have a few injuries, and there's the old joke that goes around, no Dangerfield, no Geelong, but obviously you'd assume that's not the case. But again, he's still a couple of weeks away. So it's going to be interesting to see when they turn this around and start finding form again. I think a lot of people would still have them making the 8, but they've got to get themselves out of this slump that they're in, because it's a real worrying signs for Cats fans.
Yeah, absolutely it is. They do have a few injuries, but they still had a lot of star players playing the other night. So, and especially down in Geelong. That's just somewhere where they've made that a fortress for them. It's been such an advantage for them compared to the other Victorian teams. So for them to not win games down there is a little bit concerning for them. So they've got a massive game this week against the Bulldogs on Saturday night. So if they lose that, that'll be 4 in a row, and it's going to be really hard for them to challenge this year.
Well, I think once you lose 4 in a row after losing 3 in a row early in the year, it's going to do something to the confidence, doesn't it? I mean, some of these older guys as well, maybe a little bit worse for wear, pulling up sore. Who knows what's going on there? But it's really going to bruise the confidence a little bit. And yeah, like you said, make it really tough from here on out.
Yeah, 100%. Timi Taranto, he's been the talk of the town over the last 24 hours. He put in one of the all-time performances on Sunday at the MCG and in front of a couple of people. How'd you rate his performance?
Firstly, I think a couple of people might have been a stretch to how many were actually there, but it was look, it was the one shining light of what was a disappointing day for Richmond fans. And obviously, his name's been tossed up a lot thanks to Kane Corns and his statement about him not being a top 150 player and all that sort of stuff. But for him to come out, and he actually had a reasonably clean day as well. Like, his disposal has been talked about a lot throughout the year and how inefficient he is and all that. But I thought he was quite clean with the ball. 33 disposals, 4 goals as well, and just he couldn't have done much else to help us try to get over the line against Port Adelaide and what ended up being a pretty average day. So it was unbelievable watching him, work his magic and play footy like that, and especially being up close like I was and just got to see it firsthand. It was something special to see. It was just disappointing we couldn't cap it off for the win.
Yeah. One thing we haven't been able to talk about, though, on record is Dimmer Hardwick leaving the Tigers last week. And one of the biggest news you'll see, probably the biggest news story of the year.
Yeah, so we did, didn't we? Because we missed the weekend of last week. We had a week off, but it is, it still hasn't sunk in for me. I've spoken about this on various other channels and stuff like that as well, but it was a real blow to me. I know a lot of Richmond supporters as well, but for me especially, it felt. I remember what happened. I was sitting there eating dinner. I had my phone on the table, and I see that an SEN notification pop up. I'm like, oh, what's this? So I have a look. And I see Damien Hardwick quits. And I nearly felt this, like, I know people say this and exaggerate, but I genuinely nearly fell off my chair. We've got pretty unstable stools in my place, but I nearly fell off the chair. And my partner, Elisa, goes to me like, what's wrong? I was freaking out. And I was like, Dimmer quit. And she goes, I thought someone died. Like, you're carrying on. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, it's weird to have this much love towards a man that we've never met. But as Richmond supporters know, like, obviously it looks like our time has probably come to an end in terms of our successful period. But to go through what we went through, to have him at the helm, the appreciation there is next to none. So for him to quit the way he did, I thought it was unceremonious to see him not go out with a farewell game, or for him to not finish off the season. I still think there's a little bit more to it than what we're hearing, than him just being burnt out. He doesn't strike me as the type to, I don't know, just to give up or to quit when things get a little bit tough. Like, obviously he's been there a very long time. He's been in football a very long time. So maybe it is that just is the case. I'm not too sure. But for me, it feels like there might be a little bit more going on there. But either way, it's big loss. And obviously just very appreciative for what we got to see. And all thanks to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it came as a shock to everyone. And I think the fact that he didn't coach one last game is probably a little bit not suspicious, but you think, geez, maybe there was something more to it. Surely he could have coached just one more game, give the Richmond fans a chance to properly farewell him, and or even just do like a lap of honor or some sort of recognition for him. But it was done from that day. He packed up his bags and that was it.
Yeah, it was. It feels bizarre now that it's been. Was it been nearly a week since
it was this time last week? It was last Monday night.
Yeah,
that's when the news broke.
Yeah, the news broke. So then it was Tuesday morning, I believe, was the press conference. So it's it feels weird that it's already been a whole week since it's gone down. It's all happened, but disappointing we didn't get to send him off with a farewell game or anything like that, and especially that his last game was a 1-point loss to Essendon at Dreamtime. It just, I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me that that's how we sent him off. But again, like, he couldn't have done much more for the club. I think he'd probably done everything he could, and greatly appreciated him for everything that he did do for the club. It's pretty much. I start getting teary if I start going on too much more about him. But love the bloke obviously, and love everything he did for the club. So it was good. But one talking point that was going around from last week, and I want to ask your opinion on it, was a lot of people were giving it, and probably Richmond supporters in particular, but a lot of people were giving it to Tom Morris for leaking that news a day early before allegedly a lot of the players knew what was happening. So by all reports, a lot of players would have found out the same way I did by a notification on their phone saying Dimmer's gone, and for some people they've had Dimmer as a coach for 5, 6, 7 years. Like, I presume a lot of the 10 plus year boys would have been told already, but some of the younger guys especially wouldn't have known. Even the new guys like Taranto and Hopper have come across, expecting to play under Dimmer, and all of a sudden he's quit, and they find out due to a news report. What are your thoughts on stories like that being dropped with full well knowing that the playing group isn't aware of what's going on, or is it just journalism at the end of the day?
Yeah, I don't think he did anything wrong, to be honest. I think the person that leaked it to him is probably the one that did something wrong, if there was something to do wrong there. But I think it was just good journalism, good research, good hunting, and that's news that's probably pretty hard to sit on. You wouldn't want to sit on that in case someone else stole it. So I think it's probably more on the person that leaked it from the club than anything else. And Tom's been out of the game for 12 months, and he's come back in a big way, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, geez, Pressure Point alumni, what a way to put himself back on the map. It's going to be the biggest story of the year, a shocked quit from or shock retirement from Damien Hardwick. So I guess the question now is, obviously the rumours start swirling straight away. Like, I've heard Gold Coast rumours, I've heard Port rumours, I've heard Carlton rumours about where he's going to end up next. Does he go anywhere? Is he just quit altogether from football, take a few years off? Like, where do you think Dimmer goes from here?
How would you feel if you saw him coaching Carlton?
If it depends on honestly, it's on the time frame. If he's at Carlton next year, I would lose my shit. I would go nuts. If I see him coaching any club next year, I would lose my shit, because it like I said, something didn't feel quite right about the way it all went down, and then to see him within 6 months or even less than 6 months, because you'd assume he'd be there for pre-season in November, to see him at another club by then would really sting. It would sting a little bit, because it means that I don't know what it means, to be honest with you, but it doesn't sit well with me either way. So look, if he takes a couple of years off and then ends up at another club, fair enough. He's at his break. He's probably got the itch for it again, wants to get back into it. You see that with a lot of coaches where they've had a bit of a time to rest up, take it easy. Let's get back into things. So for me, it all depends on time frame. If it's next season and he's at another club, I'll be very disappointed.
So what if he was at Carlton in 2025? You would be fine with it.
It would
be hard to see.
I think it being Carlton would probably hurt. If he went to the Gold Coast or something, I wouldn't mind it so much. But yeah, if I saw him at Carlton, I think that would sting a little bit. Yeah, that would hurt.
Yeah. Nah, but back to your question, I think he will take the time. I think the only one that I can probably see him going to is the Gold Coast, just based on what he said in the past in terms of like lifestyle. And I think his partner or someone is from Queensland, I think. So someone in his family is from Queensland. I think I heard that somewhere. So I think that would be him. I think he seems like one that sort of craves that, that lifestyle of sun, beach, and a bit more of a relaxed vibe. And yeah, I think if he was to go anywhere, it'll probably be there. I can't see him. I mean, I can see him going to Carlton just because that's just such a Carlton thing to do, is sack the coach and find the coach that's won heaps of premierships and the Messiah. But I don't think it would be the best move for him and for the club. But yeah, I think Gold Coast would be the most suitable option. But I think at the end of 2024, I think heaps of senior coaches are out of contract. So I think he'll have many options at the end of next year. So he'll definitely have some job offers come his way. So I don't think he'll have to make a decision anytime soon. He'll have plenty of people chasing his signature.
Well, one that no one's talking about is maybe he'll finish off the year and he'll come back to Richmond. Imagine that.
What a twist.
Imagine that. He quits, takes half the year off, and then comes back to the same club. That would be a first. That would have to be a first. A coach quits and goes back to the same club 6 months later. So
yeah,
I'd take him back in a heartbeat. No doubt there at all. But one thing I do want to touch on quickly before we stop talking about Richmond, and you brought it up, but I am passionate about it, and that's the crowds and the attendance. And look, we've had some big attended games this year. Granted, all against bigger clubs like Geelong, Essendon, Carlton. In Collingwood, we had a decent crowd as well, and that's obviously because we've had the other teams probably backing this up and putting a band-aid over the cracks a little bit. But you've seen games like the West Coast game, the Gold Coast game, and again on the weekend against Port Adelaide, we only had 30,000 people there at the G. For a game that was like an unofficial send-off to Damien Hardwick as well, where a lot of fans, and it was all over social media, a lot of fans were planning on getting there and just sort of paying their respects to Dimmer in one last sort of game, even though he wasn't coaching, but, as a tribute to him. And not even for that, just the fact that, your team's struggling a little bit, but, it's a Sunday afternoon, really no reason anyone can't be there. For 30,000 people to show up was disgusting. I remember sitting at the game looking around thinking, I hate this. And it's embarrassing because you know that everyone else is laughing at you as a club, saying, oh, look at that, they're falling off the perch and now no one's there. And when we're at the top, I knew there were bandwagon supporters, as there is every club, and you kind of accept that a little bit. But I think you don't realize how many there are until you get to times like this. And we're not even like rock bottom. We're still in every game we play. We're only just losing games. So it's not even like we've hit rock bottom yet. I hate to see what happens when we hit that sort of situation because it was abysmal, the crowd numbers on the weekend.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's happened more than once this year is proving that it's a lot of bandwagon supporters in the Richmond crowd, which they've been known for over the years, as you said, until you started coming good in 2017. But I think that. I mean, I won't say too much because we spoke about it off air. But I think for everything that Richmond has done for their long-suffering fans, I think the least you can do is still show up and support the team. You're not a Carlton who have just been constantly terrible for 25 years, 20 years, or an Essendon. But Richmond has fans have all seen more than they would have hoped for in terms of success over the last few years. So I think to jump off when it just gets a little bit tough now is not something I'd be proud of if I was a supporter.
No, it hurts to see. And one thing that a lot of people were saying is, it was raining on Sunday. The weather wasn't great. And look, okay, granted, I'll give you that. But the weather was fine for the West Coast game. The Gold Coast game was at Marvel and the roof's closed, so there's no issues with weather then. I think it's gotten to the point where people are trying to find excuses now rather than just turning up. And it's as simple as that. I am one of those nuffy supporters that kind of goes no matter what. It's I almost like the torture of getting absolutely pumped some weeks. So I know what's sort of coming, but I'll still go. That's just the support type of person I am. I'm not saying everyone has to be like that, but 30,000 only as a crowd is really disappointing. And it's like you look at when we were good, and you see this, Marcus, because I'll give it, Carlton supporters do show up despite the results. They still show up. Once your team gets on a roll and kicks a couple of goals, it's the crowd that pushes them a lot of the time over the line. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we're losing a few close games. And when we do kick a couple of goals in a row, instead of the 80, 90,000 people we're probably used to having in the crowds over the last few years, get us over the line, the Port Adelaide fans are honestly louder on the weekend. And that's so disappointing to have a Port Adelaide cheer squad louder than the rest of the MCG. It was tough. It was tough to be a part of, to be honest. So,
yeah. No, completely understand. And yeah, I mean, everyone's entitled to support their team the way they want to do. But yeah, when there's a club that has 100,000 members and only 30,000 are there, or 25,000 if you count the Port Adelaide fans, it's it's not a great look, is it? So, but you've had your fun, and maybe it's time to maybe it is time to go down to the bottom for a little bit. And I mean, you still got some good players there that you can bounce pretty quickly, but maybe it is time to just let some other teams have some fun now.
Yeah, well, mate, by all means, you're more than welcome to take your turn, but it seems like you're taking your time. But that's all right. We'll move on. We've got the one more team that was actually very impressive, and we've been saying it all year. Both of us have experienced them already throughout the season, but the Adelaide Crows are absolutely flying at the moment, and they're definitely exceeding expectations. And whether or not this game was an upset, I'm not quite sure. I don't think it was, being Brisbane playing away from home, but for Adelaide to come out and have an emphatic 17-point win over the Lions was super impressive. And I think they're genuine contenders, the Crows.
Yeah, I do think that as well. I think they are the real deal, but they aren't great away from Adelaide Oval. That's been their issue. They're really good at home. I think if that game was reversed, I think Brisbane probably would have won quite comfortably. But yeah, I think they are at their best. They are very good, very good. One of the best teams in it. But yeah, I think away from home, where the finals will be, at the MCG, if they do get that far, they're going to have to prove it there. But yeah, so far they haven't. But yeah, I do think they're definitely one of the best teams in the competition at the moment. Just the way they play, they've got so many weapons, and their experienced players are playing so well as well. So yeah, good team to watch.
Okay, Tex was definitely a welcome inclusion back into the side on the weekend. He kicked a few handy ones. Josh Rochelle, how was that little goal from the boundary line? Like, he absolutely loved that. It was it was an awesome game to watch as well. Like, just for a neutral fan, not knowing which way it was going to go. You had Danaher and Cameron down one end kicking bags, and then you had down the other end, obviously, Rochelle and the likes down there. So it was and Rankin as well. Like, what a star. I mean, I want to ask you about this. What were your thoughts on him doing the My Pocket celebration? He took Eddie's celebration there.
Oh, it doesn't bother me at all. I like it. I don't really care what Eddie. I don't really care what Eddie did at Adelaide Oval, to be honest.
I'm all out of respect for a great player. I loved it. I liked it. I thought it was good. I know that Rankin and Eddie are friends and all that, so it was all in good faith. But I thought it was great. He's a great showman, Rankin, as well. I remember I had mixed feelings about him when he was at the Suns. I just thought he was one of the bit of a flush in the pan type player. That's honestly how I viewed him. And then watching him more consistently this year at the Crows, he's a genuine talent, and he's doing it week in, week out. So I tip my hat to Isaac Rankin because he's playing some seriously good footy. Yeah,
100%. He's probably one of the best small forwards, if not the best small forward in the game at the moment. So he's very good to watch.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But we'll keep moving on. What caught your eye this week, Marcus?
What caught my eye this week, and it is the Hawthorn Footy Club, and they are not tanking. Different to what we all thought early on in the year, as we mentioned earlier. But what caught my eye was the Hawks have fair income about winning and going as far as they can this year. You look at West Coast and North Melbourne. I think they've really put a gap between themselves and those two teams now. And I think the number one pick's going to be between West Coast and North. So we all thought it was Hawthorn's really Everyone tipped them for the wooden spoon this year, and yeah, they're proving a lot of people wrong. Even in their losses, they've been pretty good, and to beat any team by over 100 points is huge. So even though it was against West Coast, but yeah, they played really well then, and then yeah, obviously backed it up against the Saints. So yeah, loving what they're doing. They play Port Adelaide this week at the Adelaide Oval, and geez, if they win that, maybe the Hawks are coming already.
Geez, if they beat Port over there in Adelaide, that'd be something else. I don't see that quite happening, but that would be something else for sure. I think it's a testament to Sam Mitchell and his character as well. He doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would tank. But obviously, it wouldn't just be his decision; it's an organization's decision. But I feel like with him at the helm, their mentality is always going to be win, win, win at all costs, and we're seeing that. We're like with the list that they've got, they've won games that they shouldn't have, and this is one of them. So good on the Hawks. And look, honestly, as long as it's not against us, I hope they win a few more games as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What caught your eye?
It was a bit that caught my eye this week, but one thing that definitely did was the Gold Coast Suns. And they tell you what, they're flying under the radar, but they're coming, I reckon, the Gold Coast. They've got a very cruisy run home, by all means. With a couple of big players out, like Miller's still not playing, and had another big one out that's skipped me at the top of my head. But had a few big outs on the weekend, and they got a big win against the Doggies. And let me tell you, if they get some injuries, come back and playing healthy football, they're going to be, I don't want to say threatening to the top four or anything like that, but they're going to push to the 8. Now, they could play their first season of finals this year.
Well, I hope they prove everyone wrong, because I think everyone's still expecting Gold Coast. Yeah, they'll still win a few more games, and they'll just finish around 9th, 10th, or 11th, where they always usually finish, and never make that leap into the 8. Maybe this year's the year. I mean, beating the Dogs were one of the most informed teams in the competition up until last week. So to knock them off was huge, and especially the Dogs were coming hard in that last quarter, and to hold fire was really impressive. So maybe this is the year of the Sun, and they finally make finals after a very long wait for their passionate supporters up there.
I'll tell you what, if for those that don't watch the Suns closely, start watching their games. They're genuinely exciting games of football to watch. Like their style of play as well it's intoxicating. Like it's fun to watch. It's really fun football to watch. So I enjoy watching the Suns play. And if they can keep winning, I think their problem in the past has been they'll get to this sort of stage of the season, they'll look okay and look like they're pushing, and they'll lose their last 7 or 8 games in a row, and then they'll miss out on finals. And like you said, finish around 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, whatever it is. It's going to be now to the end of the season. It's going to be the real test for them. They do have a cruisy kind of run home, but they're the games they're going to have to win, and they're going to have to try and get over the top of a lot of these teams early, especially for that confidence building into the very back end of the season, where they can hopefully push that in that final 8. So it's going to be a long watch, an interesting watch, but I can't wait.
Yeah. Question without notice: who's more likely to play finals, Gold Coast or Carlton?
Jeez, you put me on the spot here. If we're honestly, if we're talking about current form and even current confidence, I almost have to say Gold Coast, just the way that they're going about it at the moment. If on paper, you definitely wouldn't say so, but I just think the style of football that they're playing and the confidence and the way that they're going about it, they seem like a team that believes that they can get there. Where I'm not seeing that from the Blues at this stage. Like, I've tipped the Blues the last 5-6 weeks in a row now, thinking this is the week, but we haven't seen it just yet. I still think they can turn it around. I'm not saying their season's done, but if we're talking about right now and the way that both teams are looking, Gold Coast look more likely. But in saying that, I think Carlton are probably better built to last longer in the season than the Suns are. So it's an interesting watch.
Yeah, it is an interesting watch, and yeah, it's very intriguing to see what happens at the Blues and in particular the Suns as well. I don't know, for me, I've always had a soft spot for the Gold Coast Suns. Like, you just want them to do good up there, especially on the Gold Coast. Like, such a beautiful location, not only in Australia but the whole world. And you want players to stay there and enjoy the environment. And you want, if you're going to bring expansion teams into the competition, you want them, competing and playing finals and challenging for premiership. So let's hope that this is the year that they finally get there.
Well, I think the biggest thing as well is, like, you put yourself in their situation. You just think, how cool would it be to live on the Gold Coast, play footy up there? Like, that's your job. Yeah, it's sunshine all the time. You surf, like whatever it is. Like you got almost everything you want up there in the Gold Coast, and it's it's a wonder why sporting teams, because and other codes as well, sporting teams don't last on the Gold Coast. So the Suns are still around. They're still going and they're playing a lot better football now. But once they start seeing some success, I think all that hard work will finally pay off. So like you, I've had a soft spot for them, even though they always seem to beat Richmond. They're our bogey team. They always seem to beat us. But when they're not playing us, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for the Suns too.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Anything else you want to add, mate, before we wrap up?
No, that's pretty much it, mate. Another big weekend of football coming ahead. I think we're around 12 now. So what have we got? Like just over 10 rounds, 11 rounds left, whatever it is. My maths isn't great.
We're halfway through.
Well, halfway through. There you go. We're halfway through the season. So it's going to be, that's 24 rounds this year, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. We're another 12 weeks ahead after this. So it's, the halfway point of the football season is going to be a very good watch as per. That's pretty much it.
Beautiful. All right. Well, it is the start of the bye rounds as well, which is, another gripe of mine, but maybe we'll save that for next week in the way that the bye rounds are structured. And that all kicks off this week. Round 12 coming up. Some big games, halfway point of the season. And, take care, and we'll chat next week.